Artemis Frigate was one of the first ships produced after contact with the Centauri. The vessel was heavily armored to the point that most fighter-based weapons could barely scratch the hull, and it had powerful engines that made it one of Earth's fastest ships. The Artemis underwent various upgrades and variants over its lifetime and served as one of the first test beds for the Mark I interceptor and medium pulse cannons. It usually carried a crew of between 38 and 56 officers and crew. Despite the heavy armor, many crew members dreaded serving on it because of the living conditions, as it was cramped with no gravity, and depending on the weapons, extremely hot and not very maneuverable. Also, while they had powerful armor, the frame was very weak. Once the armor was breached, the ship would quickly break apart. This gave the frigate the infamous nickname, the Flying Coffin. During the Dilger War, this class was on the front lines, escorting bigger ships' convoys, and was part of small hunter-killer teams. After the war, many were upgraded with pulse cannons and feared by raiders, as the amount of fire they could pour out could easily shred fighter group. But the main-line variant was the railgun frigate. These ships were one of the few that could deal real damage to a Minbari war cruiser. After the Minbari War, most Artemis frigates were destroyed. Those surviving few were quickly repaired and sent to the outer colonies to protect them until they could rebuild their defenses. Here is just a small list of known variant. The Alpha model was served between 2168 and 2201, armed with 6 medium plasma cannons, light particle beams, and a prototype interceptor system. The interior of the ship would get unbearably hot when the plasma cannons were powered up and firing. Even when the crew lowered the interior temperature to near freezing levels, they would still find themselves sweating until near hydration. The Beta model was by far the most powerful, entering service in 2290. The variant stayed in service till the class was officially retired 2256. It was armed with 6 railguns, 2 standard particle beams, and a Mark I interceptor. While this ship packed a punch that would make most other ships keep their distance, the railguns were massive weapons, making the vessel even more cramped. Also, their ship only carried about 50 rounds per gun, so they would have to withdraw to rearm or serve as decoys for other ships in protracted battles. Another issue with the railguns was that the electrical system was not well shielded, and the gunners occasionally got electrical shocks from the wiring. The Gamma model had its railguns removed and replaced with heavy blast cannons. This short-lived variant served from 2216 to 2236 and was mainly for testing the weapon. A few saw service against the Dilger but were quickly retired afterward. The Epsilon model entered service in 2235 to 2247. This vessel is an upgraded Alpha variant armed with 6 heavy plasma cannons. If the Alpha was uncomfortable, then the Epsilon was a living hell. The heat generated from the plasma cannons was so intense that Earth Force gave the crews a notable exception to modify their uniforms to compensate for the extreme temperatures, mostly wearing less of them. In some battles, the heat grew to the point where the crew would openly vent parts of the ship to eliminate excess heat. More than one ship thought the frigate had a major internal fire because of the heat it produced. The Zeta model was introduced in 2242 and served until class retirement. Armed with 6 medium pulse cannons, this ship was a testbed and showcase for that weapon. Nicknamed the Escort Frigate, this ship would protect convoys or larger warships from fighters or small warship. With a decent range and rapid rate of fire, plus slightly better living conditions, this variant was slightly more liked than the others. The Artemis Frigate proudly served the Earth Alliance for nearly a century before fully being retired. Well, the class was a nightmare to serve in. Many fleet officers still think the little flying coffin was a true warrior and are proud of their time on it.